Wii Sports Resort is one of the best-selling Wii games of all time, but did you know that there is an entire library of unused content left in its game files? Today, I'll be documenting the unused graphics, unused audios, and some of the hidden secrets of Wii Sports Resort for the Nintendo Wii. There are a lot of unused graphics left over in the game files of Wii Sports Resort, the first being Guess Me See, also known as Hubble. This same file is found in Wii Music, which makes sense as both games were made by the same development team, Nintendo EAD. Various game files in Wii Sports Resort also have this picture of this faceless Mii with a kanji symbol for temporary pasted onto it. The next texture has 80 dummy Miis with numbers pasted all over them, with the first 16 being larger than the rest. This probably would have been used for the stands in the swordplay mode. This dummy texture simply states dummy. However, the name implies that it will be used as a balloon in the Frisbee Dog game mode, and this can actually be seen, but not in game. This texture is simply a color palette that would have been used as an effect test, hence the name effect_test. Existing in the game files is an early version of the Wii Sports Resort logo. This logo is simply the Wii Sports logo with Resort pasted in the bottom right corner. Ironically, the current logo is simply Resort with Wii Sports pasted on top of it, which is actually pretty funny to me. In the final game, the texture for the ping pong racket used in the table tennis minigame actually has the remote pasted on the bottom. However, this isn't actually mapped in the model of the rocket. It would have been super cool to see this in game, and I'm curious as to why this was actually scrapped from the final game. Finally, there exists an early version of the A button texture left in the game files. This could actually be seen in the E3 version of the game, and its removal and change for the final version is completely practical. A YouTube video by Jimmy Katsakatsan, I'm very sorry if I mispronounced that, showcases the 12 unused archery stages left in the game files called Island. Although these stages are all unused, they were all still near development completion with some exceptions. The first beginner stage is simple, yet still very difficult for the opening beginner stage. You'll also notice that the first camera shot clips to the wall because for whatever reason there is a giant wall right behind the player. This stage plays just as normal. The second beginner stage starts to question the beginner difficulty it was given. The player is on top of a platform at a temple and they have to awkwardly shoot down to hit a target. The third target takes a step back in terms of difficulty, but it makes you question, how on earth did we get here? I mean, the player is on top of a giant pillar made completely from grass. How on earth are we not drowning in the ocean right now? Besides the loss of gravity being questioned on the stage, this stage is still super easy. Once again, the difficulty name of beginner is thoroughly examined with this 40-yard archery shot instead of a literal volcano. One wrong step and I'm immediately cooked by lava. Besides that, this stage is relatively difficult and requires precise aim and timing. The first intermediate stage is relatively finished and could have fit into the final game. If you gave me a copy of Wii Sports Resort and told me that this is the final game and you slid this stage into it, I'd completely believe you. The difficulty of this first stage makes sense and I actually kind of like it. The second intermediate stage is... yeah, Jimmy K couldn't get this second intermediate stage to load correctly, but Tanman on YouTube did manage to. This stage is actually easier than the last, and this trend continues into the next stage, where a literal toddler could and will score 30 on the stage. Although the first 3 intermediate stages have been relatively easy, the final intermediate stage is a completely different story. You're inside of a cave with a ravine in it, 30 yards from the target. Although it's difficult, it's doable by all means. The first expert stage is actually pretty interesting. The stage opens with a target and distance markers being placed awkwardly into the ground. When it comes to shooting, the target positioned so that half of it isn't even visible. It's now starting to make a lot of sense as to why this got cut. The second expert stage is far to say the least. And once again, we are forced to ask the question, how on earth did we get all the way up here? And how is this distance marker hanging on for dear life? Like, holy crap, bro is a warrior. The target is barely under 50 yards away from the player, and it's easy to say that this target is difficult to hit. The third expert stage is a lot easier and posted so that you're given a nice view of the vast ocean. This game is actually pretty beautiful. You know what, I'll let you take a look at the final expert stage for yourself. Yeah, it's so far that the camera's momentum forced it to run back far enough to miss the player and then jump back onto them.
What is this?
The target is 160 yards away from the player. That's wicked. According to Jimmy, this target is possible to hit with perfect aim and timing, but both him and Tanman both failed. One of Wii Sports Resort's coolest aspects, and probably my favorite game mode of all of it, is its island flyover mode, where your goal is to fly around the entire map to collect eye points and learn more about the island. But if you fly over the Candle Lighthouse, you'll hear some beeps and boops. This is actually real Morse code, and 3 different messages can be heard, all being questions followed by answers. The first is, does anyone out there know Morse code? Sorry, use your radio. Morse code takes forever. It sure does. Why does anyone use Morse code anymore? Good question. It's a complete mystery as to why these messages are in the game files, let alone be in the final game, and I can just imagine an employee getting bored one day on the job and sneaking in these fun yet exciting messages into the game files. There are 2 unused songs left over for the game files of Wii Sports Resort. The first song could have been heard in archery. Let's listen to it. In archery, a jingle can be heard at the beginning of every single stage except for the first stage, as the typical archery theme could be heard instead. However, this song still exists in the game files and is therefore unused. Let's move on to the next song. The name of this file is pretty weird as it references both Frisbee Dog and FLD and Power Cruising in JSK, so it's unclear what sport this track was intended for. Although the audio track is left over in the game files, this song is not referenced in the game's audio archive and therefore cannot be played. Raneter uploads twice in 1 month? I know, crazy. Am I making a comeback? Who knows, but thank you so much for watching the video. If you appreciate it, go ahead and share it and like it. And subscribe. I'm trying to get enough hours to qualify for AdSense, so that would be great if you did so.